Hey everybody, it is You Had to Ask, the show where I answer your questions, and this week my first question comes from King R. Farazan, who says, "Hey Steve, I was talking to someone in your comments section and they asked why you hadn't made more videos on certain contexts, and I posited it's probably because you spend a lot of time sticking to a relatively rigid structure rather than making spur-of-the-moment ranty videos. You do very few video responses, for example. Having said that, are there any particular ranty videos you'd quite like to make, but haven't due to wanting to maintain the integrity of the nice ordered arrangement of Monday through Friday shows you have set out?" Well, first of all, that Monday through Friday arrangement and that lack of ranty videos or video responses is intentional. I mean, I wasn't sort of handed the Monday through Friday schedule. I came up with that myself. I decided to do it that way. I decided what those various video series would be about, what the focus and the tone would be, and it's very intentional that I don't do video responses or ranty videos. Occasionally, like a couple months ago, I did that video about the 10 questions for atheists that was on a Christian website, and I think over the summer I did the response to the 22 questions for evolutionists from creationists or whatever it was from people who had attended the Nye-Ham debate. So occasionally I will do sort of off-format videos responding to a particular event or a particular subject or whatever, but I almost never do video responses. And the tiny handful of video responses I have done have either been something funny like the creationist cat stuff, or done in a way like my a video I did about the men's rights movement, seriously the hell with the men's rights movement, which was initially a response to another YouTuber's video, but also allowed me to sort of vent on a much broader topic. So it wasn't just a response to that person, it was also something a little broader. And look, I think the audience for those sorts of things, those sort of back and forth where, you made a video about this and let me go through each one of your points and explain in laborious detail what you got wrong and why you're an idiot, and I think the audience for those sorts of things is small. I personally don't like to watch them. I don't watch those videos that other people make about my stuff. I just think it's a waste of time. If I make a 5 or 6 minute video about a subject and someone responds by making like a 30 or a 40 minute response video, I'm just not going to watch it. I just don't have that much time in the day or that much interest to watch a video that is 6 or 7 times as long as the video it's responding to. So yeah, I have no interest in that personally. I don't think there's much of an audience for it. I try to make videos that other people would like to watch in addition to myself, so I make some effort at casting a slightly wider net with my video stuff. And look, the atheist YouTube community is enough of a circle jerk, and the atheist versus theist debate community is enough of a circle jerk. I don't need to throw my own hand into the circle jerk. The circle jerk will go off just fine without me. I don't really feel like participating. Radical Bacon. Do you think it's possible to write a funny rape joke? I saw a picture of Cosby captioned, "I like putting my dick where it don't belong." I found that funny, at least in part because it mocks him and not his victims. What do you think? That's a good example. And the one I always think of is from a George Carlin routine from long ago, where he said, if you think that rape can't be funny, just visualize Porky Pig raping Elmer Fudd. The thing is, telling a rape joke, writing a rape joke is like juggling with running chainsaws. You should not even attempt it unless you are sure you can do it. Because it is a very, very dicey proposition. I don't think that it's impossible that rape jokes can be funny. I have heard funny rape jokes in the past, but I do think that you're onto something when you say that the butt of the joke cannot be the rape victim, at least to my sensibility. Maybe some sickos out there think that the butt of the joke could be the rape victim, and that would be funny. But the butt of the joke can't be the rape victim. It has to be something else. It has to be making fun at the rapist, or our attitudes toward rape, or making some sort of a meta comment on how we perceive victims of rape. There are all kinds of directions you can go, but I think if you use it to denigrate or mock the victim, even a hypothetical victim, that's the wrong way to go. That to me, that would be an example of punching down. And comedy works best when you're punching up. And when you're considering telling a rape joke or writing a rape joke, you should always keep in mind the fact that because of the subject matter and because of the experiences that many rape victims have had, and many people who know rape victims who are very deeply emotionally involved in a very personal level with that subject, there are a lot of people who are just not going to laugh at the joke no matter what, who are not going to find it funny, and who are probably going to be offended and think that you're kind of an asshole for even making light of it, for even saying it. Whether you intended to make light of rape itself in the joke or not, just the fact that you're even using that subject for humor is going to turn off a lot of people. And they're they're entitled to that viewpoint. That's a perfectly valid and understandable viewpoint. It's just like if your mother just died, you might not want to hear someone tell a mom joke, or if you happen to have a child who suffered some horrible, abuse or kidnapping or some, awful circumstance, you might not love to hear like a dead baby joke. I personally love dead baby jokes, but I've never had to experience a dead baby in my life, so maybe I would feel differently, or maybe I wouldn't. There are people, look, there's a diversity of opinion on it. There are people who say, there are people, feminists, even rape victims, who say rape jokes done the right way can be therapeutic. It allows something negative to be turned into something positive. It's a way of venting, negative, toxic emotions. It's a way of sort of getting things off your chest or taking power over that situation in your life. And there are other people who say, no, it's bad, it's completely wrong, don't ever do it. So you have to keep that in mind when you think of what you think is a really funny rape joke. Don't tell it to anybody unless you're absolutely positive that it's really funny and that it's funny in the right way, and don't be surprised if, no matter how good of a joke you think it is, people still hate your guts for saying it. Shia LaBeouf, yo, Big Stevie, I got a big hard one for you and also a question. What do you think about positive racism / stereotypes? Like, sometimes I struggle with it. At times I find myself stereotyping most black people for being good at basketball and have giant swollen gorilla mushroom tips, or Asians for being really smart, or Hispanics for making good food. Do you see this kind of stereotyping racism as an equal problem to negative racism, like all blacks steal, all Hispanics don't know English, Asians have small noodles, etc.? Do you struggle with positive racism? Thanks, Steve, you sexy bearded bastard. My dad wants to fist you because you are sexy. Well, tell your dad, I appreciate that, but no, thank you. In principle, positive racism is just as bad as negative racism. And actually, I would even say in practice, it can often become, it can contribute to the same sort of negative attitudes that overtly negative racial stereotypes can, because even a positive stereotype, if you are judging an individual by the stereotype of whatever group you've identified him or her with, then you are dehumanizing that person. You are taking part in the sort of thing that encourages a racist or a stereotypical or a prejudicial attitude, even if you're doing something positive. In a way, I could kind of tie it into the rape joke question a second ago. You might tell a rape joke that you think is really funny, but even if it's a funny joke, you have to be careful that you are not contributing to people having sort of a carefree or flippant attitude about rape. And if you indulge in even positive racial stereotypes, you have to be careful that you are not falling victim yourself or contributing in some way to the practice of people defining other people by their race, even if it's something positive. You don't want to fall into the trap of people being defined by their race. That's why it's a problem, even if it's something positive. Frequifamerthopipidreet. Hey Steve, I'm in a situation, so I want to see what would you do in my shoes. What if one day, hypothetically, your wife Ashley told you that she's Christian and that Jesus Christ is her Lord and Savior? Now she thinks you are wrong and that you are going to hell, and she is now living the Christian lifestyle, going to church, knocking on people's doors, etc. How would you handle this? Also, what are the different levels of her being Christian you could tolerate and levels that you could not? I hope you don't mind me using her as an example. I just wanted to put you in my shoes since I'm going through this right now as an atheist. Any input would be helpful. Thanks, Steve. Well, that notion of different levels of Christianity, if we can sort of take it incrementally, is very important, because just the mere fact that the person I was with was a Christian would not be enough for me to say, nope, I'm out. I used to date a Christian girl, and I mean, really, until our relationship ended, we got along great. And the difference in belief, and I was not identifying as an atheist at that point, but I was not a Christian, and I was very critical and sort of skeptical and adversarial toward Christianity. But it wasn't. It for the most part, it wasn't a problem. And if Ashley decided that she was going to convert to Christianity and start going to church, I mean, that in and of itself would not be a deal breaker. Now, if it became really overbearing, if she started expecting me to go to church with her every week, that would be a problem. If she wanted me to, go out witnessing with her, that would be a problem. And it would be counterproductive on her part too, because I wouldn't help and I would probably sabotage the efforts to convert people to Christianity. But if she had a belief, it's in a way I could sort of make it analogous to the way I think religion should be in broader society. If it works for you and it makes you happy and it gives your life meaning and gives you a feeling of purpose. I mean, even though I might not agree with the premises on which it's built, I might think it's false. If it works for you, good for you. Good for you. But don't try to impose it on other people. If my wife decided that she was a Christian and that made her happy, as long as she didn't try to impose it on me, and she didn't make me suffer because I am not a Christian, then it wouldn't be a problem. But if it got too overbearing and too heavy-handed, then I just don't think it would work out. I mean, and it wouldn't even be a matter of choice. A lot of times we state these things in terms of, well, I would leave, like I would choose to leave. I wouldn't want to. I mean, I love my wife very much. I wouldn't want to leave her for anything. But it might just be a matter of I just wouldn't have a choice. It would be, okay, I'm going to have a miserable, horrible life if this is going to be my life for the rest of it. And I just can't do that. I just can't sit here and live a miserable life with someone who only now wants to change me as opposed to accepting our differences and living in that way. So yeah, it would if it was like that kind of Christianity, that kind of overbearing, with us or against us, come to church with me every Sunday, let's do all the Christian stuff. If it was that, it wouldn't work out. Brian Mantle. Hi, Steve. What do you think about the movie Citizen Kane? When I saw it some 20 years ago, I remember renting it at Blockbuster Video, LOL. I was sourly disappointed. I didn't see how this film could be considered the greatest of all time. Also, would you agree with me that the 19th century was the golden age of novelists, with such writers as Tolstoy, Twain, Hugo, and Dickens? Well, first of all, I would agree with you with the 19th century novelist thing. At least that certainly was the impression I got when I was in college. I was an English major in college, as I've mentioned ad nauseum in these videos, and we certainly did study the English novelists of the 19th century far more extensively than we studied the novelists of the 20th century. And it's not that the 20th century didn't have incredible English novelists. I mean, there was, Joyce and Fitzgerald and Hemingway. I mean, Steinbeck was another one. Virginia Woolf. I mean, there are really amazing 20th century novelists. But yeah, the 19th century, at least in terms of how we teach English, I would say I am completely in agreement with you. And I would throw Frank Norris in there as well, because I'm a huge fan of Frank Norris. As for Citizen Kane, if you really want to have like an extended dose of my opinion of Citizen Kane, you should go to Jason with the D's YouTube channel and check out our late seating review of Citizen Kane. Me and Jason, by the way, Jason Harding, he's the guy who does Opinionville, and he is just a genius and a great guy. And we do an occasional movie review series on his channel that you should totally check out. It's called Late Seating Review, and we're transitioning it into a podcast now. Starting with our next episode, it's going to be a podcast, but he's still going to post it on his YouTube channel as well as on his various podcast outlets. And you should check it out. One of the episodes we did a few months ago was Citizen Kane. And we talked about Citizen Kane for, I think about 45 minutes. And I'll put a link to it in the description of this video so you can check it out. And I would highly recommend you watching that. I think Citizen Kane is great. I love Citizen Kane. It's one of my favorite films. I would maybe stop short of calling it the greatest film of all time, but that's just for me personally. But I'm a huge, huge admirer of it. I love Orson Welles as a director and as an actor, and I just think it's great. So if you want to hear more about what I think and what Jason thinks about it as well, I would recommend you watching our our Citizen Kane movie review. But just in brief, I think Citizen Kane is the shit. I love it. Beth Ann Swan. Steve, how do you feel about the Nymphet Theory? In short, it's the idea that young girls inherently seduce older men, or may even intentionally seduce them. I find it pretty appalling because it combines the sexualization of children and the notion that women are always asking for it. By the way, thank you for continuing to make atheist videos that don't make me cringe from the euphoria. Well, you're welcome, Beth. Yeah, I think you nailed it when you say in your question, it combines the sexualization of children and the notion that women are always asking for it. It puts the onus on the women or the girls. They're the ones that are doing something, not the men. We're not attracted to them. We're not doing anything we shouldn't do. We're under their power. You know, that's the really silly part and the really offensive part, to think that it's not just that children are being sexualized. According to that theory, it's like they're sexualizing themselves. It's not the perception of men that is sexualizing them. It's these young girls. They're just sexualizing themselves, and we're helpless in their power. You know, we have no responsibility. They're seducing us, and it's something inherent about them. Yeah, that's it. It's a really, really self-justifying theory. It's basically saying, look, okay, yeah, maybe it is kind of creepy that I want to fuck little girls, but it's their fault. It's not my fault. It's their fault. Yeah, yeah. Nick Grant. I've never believed the stories of the Bible and have always counted them as fiction, myth. For that matter, I haven't given the Bible too much thought or cared what people believe as long as they kept their religion to themselves. However, that all changed after I watched the Nye-Ham debate. As I learned more about the atrocities, contradictions, and non-scientific information stated in the Bible, I find myself wanting to argue these silly beliefs continuously. However, if I was to ever follow through with these arguments, I would certainly see myself alienating family and friends in the process. I'm pretty sure that given a bit of time, I may be less consumed by my thirst for knowledge. But in the meantime, do you have any recommendations or thoughts on how those new to atheism can protect themselves from alienation and or information overload? Thanks. Being a young atheist in a way is like someone who has just discovered sex for the first time. You know, you just want to do it all the time. It consumes you. And the best thing in that circumstance, to me, to avoid pissing other people off and to getting yourself in trouble, is to just try your best to moderate it, to just take it easy. You know, try to assert some control, assert some willpower. You might feel like you need to read about atheism all the time. You might feel as though you need to read about atheism even 4 or 5 or 6 times a day. But you just need to control that shit. You just need to impose some willpower and limit yourself. I remember I used to be, when I started doing YouTube stuff and I started, you know, really identifying as an atheist, I was much more compelled to, like, you know, go watch like a Christopher Hitchens debate or a William Lane Craig debate, and I wanted to hear the arguments, and I wanted to watch, you know, other atheists really take down Christians, and I wanted to hear their arguments and hear what they were saying, and I still do that, and obviously I'm still doing my An Atheist Read series, and I want to continue doing that. I mean, that's not something I'm tired of at all. I think it's fun in kind of a twisted way, and I think it's important. But other than that, my compulsion to sort of consume the debate has sort of cooled. I mean, I watched the Nye-Ham debate, obviously. But other than that, I've kind of just calmed down on that. And I think it's just a matter of time. I think it's a matter of just asserting some willpower and saying, you know, I can take this in a little bit at a time. If I have something really important or really valuable to say, I can say it. I can express it, even to people who I disagree with. But I don't have to open my mouth every time the subject comes up. I don't have to take every little piece of bait that's dangled in front of me. You know, basically, just don't apologize for it. Don't be ashamed to be an atheist. Don't be shy, but realize that it doesn't have to be the first thing that you project about yourself at every opportunity. That's all. You know, you just have to be just chill out. Just be cool. Just be cool, like me. You know what else you should be like me? A great fucking actor. Because I knew that was coming. And, right? You completely bought it, didn't you? Because of this. Anyway, it's time for
the lightning round. Rapid fire questions. Glib and adequate answers.
A skeptical owl, a few questions. Okay, and I'll just take these one at a time, rapid fire. Do you still agree with the stuff you said in your 5 Stupid Things About Rape Culture video? Yes. Have you seen Saint Rawman's video refuting it? If so, what do you think of it? I have not seen it. I don't watch response videos for the most part. Why do you think your videos that normally get few or no dislikes get so many when you talk about feminism? Well, because I'm still predominantly an atheist YouTuber, and atheism is something most of my audience members agree on. Feminism, on the other hand, is a more divisive issue. Many of my audience members do not agree with me on feminism. Also, hate to be that guy, but Ceres is in the asteroid belt, not out with Pluto and Eris. Yeah, I know. Thank you for that correction. A couple other people corrected me on that too. Ceres is not a trans-Neptunian object, as I seemed to think it was last week. I knew that, but it was just kind of a brain fart thing, so thank you for correcting me. Australian Engineer, hey Steve, got a question for you. Could a lightsaber cut through Superman? No, absolutely not. A lightsaber would pass right through Superman, like waving a beam of a flashlight. It would not harm Superman at all. This is a fact, by the way. This is inarguable, because both those things are real. Coexistential, Steve Lightning Round question. Do you anticipate ever doing an atheist reads on something other than apologetics, such as a well-known atheist book, especially if it's an older one with which you disagree, or maybe on some cause that you see as being something that an atheist might have a position on that would be qualitatively different to, say, a modern religious position, such as feminism, e.g. Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex, given how often feminism seems to come up? That's a good idea. I don't see myself doing that in the near future. I think an atheist read stuff is going to keep me busy on that score for a while, but it's a good idea. I would never say never, but we'll see. We'll see how long it takes me to get sick of doing the atheist read series. Bill F. 1967. Hi Steve, is there a film that would be embarrassing for you to admit that you've never seen? For example, despite fairly in-depth viewing of films from various time periods, countries, and genres, I have yet to see Taxi Driver. Any similarly shameful omissions on your part? Oh yeah, of course, there are a few. The one I will choose to share is Lawrence of Arabia. For whatever reason, I've never seen Lawrence of Arabia. Nathan Steele. Hey Steve, do you have a favorite animated series? All time, it's probably The Simpsons or Futurama. They're kind of neck and neck in my brain right now. Currently, it's Archer. I would say Archer is definitely my favorite animated series that is on the air at present. Life is Good 12341. What is the most amazing, elegant thing you have learned or found? For me, it is probably protein synthesis. The way the codons just snap into place and form the bonds. It really isn't all that complex. It's just one molecule that does it. But it has kind of a beauty to it. Yeah, I know what you mean. The evolution, just in general, the process of evolution, of gradual changes adding up to huge, significant changes over many, many generations. That's a very beautiful, elegant idea to me. But, you know, the most beautiful thing the most beautiful fact I've ever learned, and I'm going to sound like Neil deGrasse Tyson when I say this, although not as smooth as him, because it's the same thing. The idea that the stuff that we are made of comes from stars. The idea that stuff comes from other stuff, that there's sort of an unbroken physical chemical chain that connects the stuff that all of us are made of, that connects all of us literally, physically, all the way back to the beginning of the universe. That to me is such an elegant and beautiful fact, and it's so ennobling and powerful when I think about it, that all of us are part of the universe. We don't just live here, we're a part of it. And we come from the same place that the stars came from. And in fact, the stuff of us comes from stars themselves. It doesn't get any better than that to me. Next Kerouac. Hi Steve. I recently had the fortune to drive through Western Maryland, and I must say the mountains and forest are absolutely beautiful there, even along I-68. Do you ever take leisurely drives through Western Maryland or West Virginia to admire the natural beauty? Also, since you're a local, I'm curious to hear how you pronounce the name Appalachian Mountains. My geology professor always said to pronounce the local geological features as the natives pronounce them. Thanks, Steve. Peace and love. Yeah, I say Appalachian. I think most people around here say Appalachian, but you'll see a few people will say Appalachian. But that seems to be the common pronunciation. And yes, this area is blessed. Can I say that as an atheist? with such natural beauty. The green trees, the woods, the mountains, sort of gentle, low, rolling mountains. It's beautiful. And yeah, I do occasionally drive around just to look at it. It's yeah, and I did that more often when I was younger, and my dad would often take us for drives, just to go for a drive, just to see, how beautiful things were, especially when the season would change, when the leaves would start to turn or the leaves would start to come back in the spring. Yeah, it really is a beautiful area. Wish I could say the same for the people. Self-loathing. Graphiest. So I binge-watched all 56 episodes of Steve and Stuffy last weekend, don't judge me, and it made me wonder, do you actually have only one kidney? Well, the answer to that is yes and no. At the end of that episode where I gave up the kidney to save Stuffy, I had only one kidney, but apparently, at least I was under the impression that I hadn't done that, and I still had two kidneys in that later episode. And the continuity is intentionally vague. That's my little comment on how silly those sorts of things are. I like to introduce intentional continuity errors into the Steve and Stuffy videos just to disrupt the sense of reality, lest anybody start to think of it as like, a cohesive fictional universe. Harry Ray, can you add a Patreon goal that's at a high enough level for you to buy your local newspaper and bring back mail call? Honestly, if I could have afforded to buy the Herald Mail before they got rid of mail call, the first thing I would have done is get rid of mail call. As much as I miss doing that series of videos, as a resident of this area, I am so glad that mail call is gone. It was a huge fucking embarrassment. So no, I would not bring back mail call. I'm very sorry. I wouldn't do it if I had the power to do it. The Pope is my mom. Lightning round question, I guess. My uncle owns a gentleman's club, strip club, and it's called Club Onyx. He wants to change the name, and he asked me what I would name it. Strip clubs are not my thing, but hypothetically, if it was, and if I had to name a strip club, I would call it the Fish Market. My question, what do you think of my name I chose? And if hypothetically you owned one or got to name one, what would you call it? Would Stuffy be the logo? Thanks, man. Well, I guess Fish Market is okay. Maybe guys who can't get laid market. How about that? Loser market. Well, it wouldn't be Stuffy. If I had to name one and I had to give it like a mascot or a logo, clearly the mascot for a strip club, or a titty club as we like to call them in these parts, would be Toby Benson. It wouldn't be Stuffy. Stuffy would have no part of it. Stuffy has too much ethics and integrity to be a part of something like that. But Toby Benson would be the mascot, and maybe I could call it like Toby Benson's Mountain of Ass or something. How about that? Toby Benson's Mountain of Ass. That's the name of the strip club. Hypothetically. That's it for the questions. Before I get out of here, I'm going to do a shout out, and the shout out this week goes to a really great channel, a channel that you should all be watching, as all of these shout outs really, in my opinion. It goes to Know the Truth, starring Pastor J. We atheists, especially we smug, condescending, full of ourselves YouTube atheists, it helps us every once in a while to encounter someone like Pastor J, who is kind enough and humble enough to set us straight, to tell us the truth that we need to hear, that we need to be filled with the love of Jesus. And Pastor J is the vessel of that love. Watch some of his videos. He will set you straight. He will put you on the right path. He will explain to you in a way that is in no way tongue-in-cheek or satirical that you are on the wrong path as an atheist, and that Christianity, as he expresses it and as he understands it, is the right way. And I feel that you will be convinced when you watch Pastor J's work. I feel that you will be convinced that he is telling the truth and that his way of life is the way to go. He is a formidable intellect. He has a very stunning presentation, and he is just someone to be reckoned with. He is a force to be reckoned with by we YouTube atheists. So please check out his channel. It is highly recommended for me. And again, in no way is it tongue-in-cheek or satirical whatsoever. Well, that's it for me, everybody. I am done. I'm going to get out of here for the week. Before I get out of here, let me remind you that in order for me to do this, you have to ask. So please leave a comment on this video asking me your question for next time. You can ask me anything about anything. Nothing is too serious. Nothing is too silly. I will answer as many of your questions as I possibly can in the next video. So until then, take care, everybody.